Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. They clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
All right, what's up? That's the new theme song once again. We're gonna have Phrase on the show soon too. Speaking of videos, we got a videographer we're gonna be bringing on the show today. He's from Cincinnati, Ohio, like me. His name is Adam Harmon of Harmon Films. His videos are pretty awesome. So he's gonna be talking with us today here in a little bit. We just want to say thank you for everybody who's been listening. We're averaging right now like 100 listeners a show, which is pretty awesome. We just want to say, please rate and review on iTunes if you're listening that way, and make sure you're following us on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and comment. And again, if you guys can share, tag us in your stories on Instagram or whatever you're doing on social media, Facebook, whatever, find us, tag us. The more you help share, the more it helps us. But we just want to say thank you to everybody, and thanks for all the comments and everything. We are going to go ahead and bring Adam in, so please help us welcome Adam.
Yo,
air horn.
Adam.
The Drew and Fuse Show.
It's catchy, right?
Gets stuck in your head, man. I can't stop it. He crushed that theme song. He did it all from scratch. We just said we just told him what to say, and the rest flew in. So yeah, right. Shout out to Phrase for
it works. It works.
All right, cool. So do you want to start with telling us a little bit how you got into doing the video work?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Appreciate you guys having me on here. I had your typical, I wouldn't say 9 to 5 job, but it was more like 8 to 7 job. And I was always into like video and photography, but like never was really into it type thing. And then it kind of snowballed that I went from using a GoPro to like filming like little ski edits with me and my buddies to film my first wedding with a GoPro. And then I thought it was like the best thing in the world. Like, oh my gosh, like this was the sickest thing. Going back on it, it's like the grossest wedding I've ever filmed before.
You said it was sick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, but one thing I realized, man, is like, dude, I'm with people on their happiest day of their life, right? So like it doesn't get much better than that. So it doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in. Like my mood's always gonna be brought up because it's somebody else's best day of their life when it comes to these weddings. And it's kind of one thing I took from that. And so it kind of snowballed from there, shot a couple more weddings. And then I quit my 9 to 5, or yeah, we'll call it 9 to 5 job, full-time job in 2019 in May. And thank God I did when I did it, because if I'd have waited 6 more months, who knows what would have happened because of the whole pandemic. But with that being said, it kind of snowballed. I shot a couple weddings in Cleveland. The venue shared my videos on there. It was a brand new venue. They shared on their website. So I started shooting a bunch of weddings in Cleveland, which snowballed effect down to Cincinnati, and kind of the rest is history when it comes to that. There's more to it, of course, but just a quick, quick introduction.
It's funny. Everybody's got, kind of the same progression. I feel like, in a sense, like everybody starts out, even Drew and I both have, when we both started DJing, it started off as a little, and then the next thing you know, it's more and it's more. So,
and now I'm like, well, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, you can. I was gonna say, and now you can never go back. It's addicting, right?
It's addicting.
I like working for myself. it's probably, I think I work more than anybody else I know, but at the same time, I feel like I don't work at all, or I have choices to do work when I want or when I don't want. So
that's why I always tell people, they're like, man, it's awesome. You work 1 day a week. And I was like, man, I wish that was the case. Right. Because like literally up until I started talking to you guys today, I was editing videos, went down and rode my Peloton for an hour. Literally hopped in the shower, came on here. As soon as I get up here, I'm going back to editing videos. But like you said, the nice thing is if my buddy hits me up like, hey, you want to go hit the links, I can close that computer and head out, you know? So that is one great thing about it. But believe me, I feel like that I work more now than I did at the, you know, my full-time 9-to-5 job.
And it's also one of those things when you're working for yourself, nobody cares more than you. So when you are working, it's like your full attention to every detail of what's going on, versus when you work for something else, sometimes you get that, that's good enough for like, you know what I mean? Right. And not saying that people don't work hard when they work for other people, but.
Well, the difference, I know I talked to a lot of my friends that have 9-to-5s, and they always say the best part about it is they could just leave it at work. Second 5 o'clock hits, it is now over and it is no longer their problem. Whereas as an entrepreneur or just someone that owns their own business, you know, your phone's going off 24 hours a day. It just never stops. You have to basically, you know, focus yourself, right, on when you want to work and try and set guidelines.
Right. That's one thing that's in my head too. Like, you know, Sundays right now, it's football season. Sunday's my off day. I will not look at that. But in the back of my head, I know that I'm getting a little more behind every time I take one of those days off, right? So that whole thing is you can't leave it at work because there's not, you know, your work's constantly going. So I 100% agree with that.
Before we get too far, why don't you tell us your social media, your Instagram, and your website? That way, when people are listening, they can check out some of your videos and see how awesome some of these videos are before we get too far and too detailed.
Right. Harmonfilms.com is my website. Facebook, I believe it is just that on Harmon Films. My Instagram is, I need to get better at these things. It's at Harmon_films. Somebody stole my name. And then my email's Adam@Harmon_films, and my phone. I honestly, I always tell people, call me. I don't want to say I'm horrible at emails because I go through them, but my attention's more like, hey, I always have my phone on me. As soon as that thing rings, I'm going to answer it. Having my own business, but my phone number is the easiest way to get a hold of me is 513-260-7737 if you have any questions.
Don't be leaving him any wild voicemails. Like
I don't have a voicemail. That's the crazy thing. I'm locked out of my voicemail somehow, and I have no way to set it up. So it's always I just call back. So.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about the equipment you're using when you're filming right now?
I guess you can say I'm a Sony fanboy, as they would say us on the internet. I use Sony FX3, Sony A7S3, Sony A7 III. I have for microphones, Tascams. For what I plug into most of my DJ booths, H4n, which is made by I couldn't tell you right now, but it's pretty. Actually, I got it right in front of me. It's a Zoom H4n, just like a little box thing here. XLRs.
It's something that we talk about constantly is being ready to have those plugs ready for you guys. Would you say that's pretty standard for videographers to have, or you know, what cable should they? Typically, you're going to need a male XLR to go into that, right?
Right. Well, here's the thing. In my opinion, you guys shouldn't really have to supply us with anything. You know, it's our job to ask you, and if you have it available, great. If not, you know, it's our job to find a way around it. I would say it depends. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I actually don't disagree with you. Why I was saying that I've been telling a lot of DJs to have it ready is just so we're not digging in the back of our booths. If at the time to plug it all in and get it ready, you know, if they have everything pre-ran, just having that cable, knowing that you're coming up to ask for that is just having it pre-ready.
So I typically, when I ask DJs, I ask for an XLR line out of the back of one of the speakers. The reason I do that is usually the speaker's off to the side. I always can go back and check my levels. on my little Zoom right here. I can just go back and check, make sure nothing's peaking too crazy. But I honestly believe it's what kind of level video person you're working with. Like, I was at a wedding last week and the guy just offered me an RCA, and I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't even know what those look like anymore, right? But I've used like the 1/4 inch, whatever, 3/4. You know, I'm talking about I'm horrible with like the terms or whatever, but the 3/4 inch or whatever it is plug. But like I said, typically if the DJ has an XLR out on the back of their speakers, I typically would just use that. It's easier for me. It helps me not forget to leave it there when I leave, because I typically leave before the DJ. And if they don't have that, a lot of times I'll just scrap it, because like 95% of my DJs will have that. I'll just trust my little task cams, DR10s, and all that stuff. And typically, to be honest with you, it really depends on the DJ and the feed that they're getting, that the peaking. And if I can get over there and check that thing out, a lot of times I use the audio that the internal recorders I put on these people. But if the DJ,
that's for ceremony or
for everything. Toast? For everything. Okay. I mic everybody up. The whole DJ thing is more just for, honestly, a backup for me. But if I get that perfect, like nothing's peaking, it always sounds better coming from the, straight from the source than my DR10s. But like I said, if the XLR out isn't on the back, it's always just like a hit or miss. I've kind of figured out, because then if I'm like using a quote unquote RCA or the 3/4 inch, whatever it's called, it's on the DJ booth, and I don't want to walk up and keep checking all that stuff while all this stuff's going on. But if it's sitting by the speaker, I can easily just go over and check it, type thing.
But
if that makes sense.
Of course, no. And what we've been telling our DJs is, I do a ton of weddings too. So I've been saying just having that cable, that XLR, out of your board already pre-ran, so that you could just hand you that cable. It's already going to make your life so much easier and cleaner, and you're not fiddling with it behind all that. So I do think we should put in the comments, what cable Adam recommends, so that all these DJs should be prepared, be ready. So have that already ready to go, because we know that you're going to need it, and just working together is going to help everybody.
Right. And the bottom line is, and I always tell it probably depends on the level of videographer you're working with too. So I know there's a lot of people that when I first started, I had a little, I forget what it was. It was a little Zoom thing. And I literally used like like almost like an earphone type thing to plug into a DJ booth when I could. Right. But that's all I had. So it really depends. But from everybody I know that I've worked with, that I'm friends with in, this part of the business, almost all of them use like the 1/4, or the, whatever it's called, XLR out. But yeah, almost everyone. So it'd be easier. And that way you don't have to worry about us pulling cords out of the back of your speaker at the end of the night. That's always my worst fear, is like me pulling the line out and just pulling one of the cords. So a lot of times if I'm like buddied up to the DJ, like, hey man, will you pull this real quick for me? Because I don't want to, I don't want to ruin it. I don't care if you rip my cord. I just don't want to turn off the music in the middle of this thing.
I had a videographer recently. She was doing this kind of as a friend, but she ran an XLR like halfway into the crowd so that she could get the right shot. Just a long cable, because she didn't have that little recorder to like you have.
So what she do? Have it hooked up to her camera or something?
Hooked up to her camera, because she didn't want to do an edit afterwards. It wasn't good, but that was
that's Drew being nice too.
Right. It's better to be unseen than seen on a wedding day in my part of the field. So
and anyways, just having the cable and having that is awesome.
Right.
So with that being said, we kind of know what equipment you're using. We know what cables you prefer from the DJ.
I had a question. I'm sorry. One more question.
Yeah.
We're big tech nerds here. We're always pushing the boundaries. I know the Sony just dropped a new the A7 IV.
Yeah.
Is it worth upgrading? Is that something you're looking for?
They said what I have is the A7S III and the Sony FX3. They're primarily video cameras more than photography cameras. They're like 12 megapixel cameras. So without getting into too much detail, the A7 IV basically will shoot the same type of video that I do, but their sensor's like a 33 megapixel camera, which isn't as good in like low light conditions. So it's the same camera, but wouldn't be as good in low light conditions for video. So no, I'm sticking this. But I'll be honest with you, DJI just put out a cinema camera that I'm literally thinking about. It has like a gimbal built into it. It's like it's crazy. I'll let it melt for a few months and see what happens. See if the thing overheats or whatnot.
I'm on their list, their email list. So I gotta.
It's called the 4D or something like that.
Yeah.
Things like $8,000. It don't come with any lenses. They offer only like 3 lenses. So you don't know how much anything's going to cost at this point. So I'm gonna let it marinate a little bit, see how much the Sony, like the compatible Sony lens thing was going to cost, and kind of go from there. But it looks sweet.
While we're talking about gear, I'm going to show. I'm an amateur. I got a Sony cam here. I got the A6300. I bought that a few years ago. But while we're talking some more, both Drew and I have been fans of the Insta360. It's kind of like a GoPro. Let me see if I have mine handy. Are you familiar with that at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only issue with it, it's zero issue. It's amazing, but the only issue with it is editing it. Because the clips don't come out. You have to edit it. The clips don't come out normal.
Yeah, I've thought about getting into the 360 thing. I thought it'd be cool, like just for like the dance floor. Because you say, like, when I'm at weddings, man, I'm like right in there. I'll put a wide angle, like 16 millimeter, and I'll get right up in there, and like it just makes it look like a party, the wide look. But the only issue that I have with them is the low light capabilities. Those cameras, the small sensors, they're not going to let as much feed. But if you're like just trying to make like a quick little hype video, 20 seconds, 30 seconds long, I mean, they're perfect for stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
and that's kind of what we like. It's, as this whole social media thing has grown and the TikTok has grown, it's like us as DJs, it's like, okay, now we're not just DJing. We're having to build content for our own, social media and all that. So for me, and I know Drew has liked it as well, it's great because I'll just throw like a 16-second story up from this 360 cam, and it's pretty cool. But it is a little like, for something like the videos that you're doing, it is like grainy when in the low light stuff. But
for some, like, especially social media content, like for instance, Instagram, I think it's like the 720p, like max is kind of what they take. I always post my videos there, and I'm like, man, it looks so horrible. Like, but it is what it is. It's, everything's compressed. So it does. I don't think like for like Instagram and stuff like that, it really doesn't. That crap don't matter. We're not that far down the road, you know what I'm saying, to where you're going to be able to tell the difference.
Well, I have a question. Since you say that, should we be editing it and putting, if we're doing the edits ourselves, right? What he's talking about, a 360 camera. Should we put it, basically make it in 4K, 1080, or just record it at 720 if that's going to go straight up? Because you lose some, or does that make sense?
Yeah. So I record, this is just me. I record all my weddings in 4K, especially with the new Sony cameras. They all shoot 4K, slow motion, all that good stuff. And I deliver everything in 1080p. And the fact is when you can crop in and say, hey, I shot this wedding, but man, that person was just a little bit off. I want to move them over, maybe punch in just a little bit. I can do that without losing resolution compared to the rest of the film, because it's all going to be downsampled anyways to a 1080 film, if that makes sense. So I always say shoot as big as you can go, because if you crop in, you can crop into a 720 type thing. I don't know if you know. So you crop in, it's still at 1080 resolution at that when you're cropped in that far. And like I said, I'm not a mad scientist behind it. And to be honest with you, these people that are getting these videos, they don't know no difference either. I can give them a 1080 video and tell them it's 4K. They would never know. I don't do that, but like it's everything's just so minor when it comes to that, especially when you see it on social media. Now, if you have it on at your house, and you throw it up on a 60-inch TV, you're going to be able to tell a monster difference between a 4K video and a 1080 video, if that makes any sense. So
of course,
I would shoot as big as you possibly can, and that way you have more room to work with when you're editing it. I mean, that's just how I think.
No, that makes complete sense. One of the things that I've been having trouble with is when I've been using this 360 cam is Instagram has I film and it's in a higher resolution, and then I upload to like Instagram, and the quality from even what saves on my phone to what uploads in Instagram, it just completely destroys the video.
Correct.
So I wonder if there's something like, if anybody else is listening, or if maybe like if there's a specific way I can save or export that'll be better for Instagram.
Can you upload it on the web? Would that make it any better? Because I know you can.
I believe if you have a business, I was on there earlier. So one thing I always hate that Instagram just changed that I hate, like I don't have a monster following on Instagram, but I do have a lot of my weddings here recently. People have said they found me on Instagram. Whether they follow me, no, but I think it's like the hashtags and all that stuff. It used to be on Instagram, say I have my personal page and my business page. I could upload a video. I could click both them off my phone and it would upload to both of them. Now it won't, but now you also can go online on your computer and you can upload them from your computer, at least to my business page. I can. I almost did today, but I was like, man, I don't feel like doing all them hashtags and, getting all the vendors back and, all that stuff. So I just did it off my phone. And like I said before,
here's what you got to do. On your notes on your computer, write out all your hashtags and save the note and copy and paste. That's what I do every time.
I need to do that,
because then with the notes, Drew and I, we share notes, and you can save them, sync them to your phone. And even if you're on your phone and do it, boom, copy and paste.
Right.
That's like, I started doing that. I was like, why wasn't I doing this sooner? Because of the same reason.
That's the thing. Like today I posted a video from a wedding on Sunday, and I hit send, and I was like, oh man, I forgot to hashtag anything. So I delete before it posted, because I've done it before. And if you sit there and you post a video, you take it down like a couple minutes later and repost it, typically it's not seen. Like with I don't know, the whole.
They kind of sandbag it because they think you're doing something. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm always like, man, I gotta make sure I do this perfect every time. So, but yeah, I don't know about the whole compression thing, because you're right. It looks better on your phone. Because I even send a message to a bride. I can text it because I do a teaser. It's a minute long. I send them a text message with it so they see it, make sure they like it, and then I'll post to all social media. And I tell them like, hey, don't use the one I send you because it's lost tons of resolution. Let me post it and you share it. And of course, the reason you do that is because my name's going to be attached to that video. It's not really, I really don't care what the resolution is. But yeah.
No, and hopefully maybe somebody listening, we have quite all these DJs now are like big tech guys, because you kind of have to be. So maybe somebody will know the answer to the Facebook, if there's or Facebook or Instagram, if there's something that a level that we could save at that would help with the compression, we would be willing to know. So if anybody listening knows, please give us a shout. I'd be curious to know what that might be, or what I might be doing wrong when it comes to that. So
one thing I've realized about Facebook too, and this is really weird. Facebook, every one of my videos, the music and my cuts are off a little bit, and I have no clue, because I'm always trying to cut to the beat. Right when I'm looking at it on my computer, it is. I make sure it's exact. I'll line up with the upbeats and all that stuff. I'll mark it and make sure I pull that clip where it's perfect. I'll put it on Facebook. And it's kind of weird. It's like that for like the first day, and I guess till it gets completely rendered through, and then it looks better. But like when you first put it up, all the cuts are off. At least not what I've realized on all my videos that I've posted. So,
what are you using to edit with? What software do you like to use?
Final Cut Pro.
Okay,
I'm just cheap. I'm cheap. I'm not going to pay $30-$40 a month to use something that I can pay one time $300 and be done with it. Yeah. It does. They all do the same thing, man. Like I said, it's,
and it's powerful, right? They're always updating it. It's super powerful.
It's getting closer and closer to Premiere by the day. They just added something else the other day. It's tracking. One thing I like about it is the proxy file use. I've heard horror stories from Premiere, people using proxy files, and I don't know if you know what proxy files are, but basically it's a dumbed down version of 4K. So basically, I use a laptop for everything. So I upload I upload all my footage to Final Cut Pro, and it makes proxy files, which is about half the resolution of your full file. So you can edit it, because these 4K files are monstrous. And so then once you're done editing the whole thing, you revert it back to the regular files, the 4K files, and then you upload, you publish it, and then you got your 4K video. I've heard horror stories with the proxy files and Premiere. I might be completely off, but just from some of the couple people I've talked to, they're like, we switched to Final Cut Pro because the files were so big. Now, I guess if you have a bad, the new MacBook, the new Mac computers, you don't have to make those proxy files. But like I said, I'm on the cheaper end when it comes to that stuff. I'll take a little bit extra time.
I actually have a question on Final Cut. I own it. I barely use it to the extent that it needs to actually be done. I know there's an add-on that you could buy is the compressor app to like export. Is that needed or not really?
No, I've never used it. I was watching a video the other day where basically, it was somebody. I had a girl dancing on a table at a wedding. And I was like, I gotta make it like what do they call it, a GIF or a GIF of that. She was like acting like she was playing an air guitar. It was at John was at the wedding.
Oh, nice.
Over at the Madison. This girl, and you hear everybody hollering, and she's up playing air. And I was like, I gotta make it one of those like little GIF things. And so, long story short, is like, I guess you have to turn it over to compress. And it was just a lot. And I was like, man, I don't have time for this. Like, I got to worry about this film more than this one girl dancing on a table, right?
If you could, there's an easy app that I have that is made, that makes GIFs. I forget what it's called. It's like, I want to say it's like GIF Cracker or something like that. So if you were to just export that clip and then, put it on your phone, you can then upload it into GIF Cracker, and it'll turn it into a GIF in like.
Oh, gotcha. I'm gonna have to do that because I made it to where it goes like she swings her arm once and then it goes back, but it ends right. It don't constantly keep going.
I'll tell you, if you ever need to know anything, this guy sitting right up here, Drew, is like the jack of all trades. He has an app for anything or an answer to anything that you need. Technology.
Right. I'll figure it out. I just love new tech, but I don't always get around to using it. But I definitely research it or like to at least know what's going on.
Right.
So are you gonna hop on that new MacBook train at some point or what?
No, man. No.
It's so expensive right now.
Right. I have everything that I need right now. I bought the new new Sony cameras this past year just because I waited forever for the Sony S3 to come out, and then of course they come out the FX3, which is the same exact thing. It just looks better, in my opinion. Like it looks like a monster. It's like thick. It's gray. It's different. I bought this, so I just updated all my cameras. Like I don't think I'm gonna update anything else this year. I still use cheap lights. I buy like most of my audio equipment off eBay because I don't want to pay full price. Because I can publish a wedding if I lose all audio. Like I can't really publish a wedding if I lose all my video. So that's where most of my money's at right now in cameras, and they just keep getting more and more expensive. Yeah. How much is that A7 for? $3,000 probably.
I didn't even look yet.
The A7 III was, I think I paid $2,000 for my A7 III when I bought it, and I was on a waiting list for like 6 months for that thing.
But those lenses add up too, right?
Right,
the lenses alone.
Right. And honestly, and this sounds crazy, and I listen to all these, different, and this really is nothing in your world. But I listen to all these like wedding videography podcasts, and they're always like, oh, you have to have the best lens. Like all my lenses are like, I have a couple like f2 and f1.8s. But other than that, like I use f4 lenses. Not that they're bad. They're not as good in low light, but I have Sony cameras that are really good in low light. So it kind of, plays off. And that's kind of goes back to the whole 360 thing. Like nobody's going to know a difference unless you're in that world. Right. And typically we are not shooting a video for somebody that's in our world, or they'd have somebody, what I'm saying, that they would know somebody that'd be shooting the video. Right. So yeah.
Are you doing a lot of color correction and stuff on video when you do it?
I use what's called a cine profile, which is nothing like too like quote unquote flat. It's just a little bit of a touch up. I try to make it look as good in camera so I can edit it as fast as possible.
Your videos all have like kind of the same kind of style and look to it. And does that
it's almost like a dark and moody look, I would say.
But that's like something you have set, and then like you can basically auto load that for like each each time?
No, I touch up every clip. I at least touch it, right? And then I have a couple LUTs that I use from I forget what the company is. A wedding, big videographer, like out in Colorado somewhere. I bought his LUTs like a year ago, and as soon as I used them, I'm like, this is my look right here. I have done some other things though. There's a couple weddings that I've done like old school looking footage, like old 8mm footage, like edited them like that. The girl wanted it. I personally didn't like it that much, but I was like, she liked it. And it's a lot of work, man. I'm talking about like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes a clip, just sitting there adding things to it to make it look like old footage, compared to me like, hey, let me lower these shadows, let me lower the midtones, let me throw this LUT on it, move it down to 30%, bam, I'm done. Throw some sharpening on it.
And it really helps your style, right? Because I mean, I've gone through all your stuff, and it does. You have that specific touch to it. I love that brand. It's very branded.
I like that too. I think it's cool when you can go to somebody's page and it's like it all looks like it really, to me, it has like a finished look. And when you see that, it's like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, you know?
Right.
Like,
and that's kind of where I try to stand myself out. There's a lot of videographers out there that make good money. And like when I watch their videos, I feel like I'm watching a digital video, right? It looks like it's from a digital camera, which we all use, right? But at the same time, like I want mine to look more of that film look, that dark, you know, the dark and moody look when it comes to quote unquote photos that people talk about. But I add grain to it to make it look, you know, like you're watching it in a movie theater. There's a lot of little things I do to try to make it look undigitalized, even though we are using digital cameras, you know?
Yeah. I got to tell you, me and Drew are both on these these new Apple M1 laptops. And I was trying to hold out until the new one that they just announced. And man, these things are beast. The M1 is the real deal. And him and I have talked, I think almost every guest we've had on has asked us about these computers. And we're such, like, they should be sponsoring us for how much we talk about these computers. Because, like,
I think really the best thing about it is it doesn't get hot and the battery is insane. I DJ'd on Halloween with a couple other DJs. I didn't even plug it in. There's never been a laptop that I didn't think about plugging it in. I just plugged it on, set it up somewhere, and it was fine. The battery didn't go down barely at all.
That's one thing that's bad with this laptop I'm using. Like literally, we've been talking, and I think this one's like 2018 or I think it's 19 MacBook Pro, and I only use a 13-inch. It's already like half gone on battery, and like we haven't even done, like I'm not even doing anything, right? I'm just talking on the internet,
right?
My old one was one of the first touch bars that came out, and I mean that battery, I felt like in an hour and a half, if it wasn't plugged in, it was gone. And but the other crazy thing is when we do outside gigs in the summertime and the computer gets so hot already, this new one, like it doesn't get it. Like if you were touching the bottom of the laptop, it just doesn't get warm at all, which is wild. But
all right, I might look into it, but
well,
you don't. I think you don't necessarily have to have the Pro, the M1. It's a MacBook Pro. It's the M1, not the Pro or the Pro Max. But dude, it's fine as it is, just the cheaper version.
And the new one's a 14-inch screen, which is nice. So you get a little bit more screen. But
I will get a bigger one next time I get one. This thing's small. Like my fiance said she was going to use it too, and like she hasn't used it at all. I wanted the bigger computer, and she's like, I want a smaller. I want to carry in my purse. And
yeah, well, you know, there you go. You can gift her that one.
It hasn't left our house in like 2 years, so
you can gift her that one and get yourself a new one. So you're like to save money, and I like to save money too. I'm kind of the same way. So I'll probably wait until like I'm probably going to get the 14-inch one just because for DJing, I like having that little bit more screen. And a 15 is almost too big for me, at least. And my old computer was a 15, and I hated when we're putting that things on stands, especially when I'm in a Drew does a lot more weddings than I do, and then I'm in the club and the bar a lot more. Like it's just too dangerous to have such a big thing sitting in like such a vulnerable spot. And what I was going to say is I bought this M1 on the refurbished section of the Apple website. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, the little fine print, they have a refurbished section. And this So this M1 isn't the newest one, but I got it for like $1,735 after tax. It's got a terabyte hard drive. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, and it's the M1. So that's pretty. I mean,
hold on, let me clear something up so I don't get in trouble, just in case Jen listens to this. Like, I do not save money. I just don't want to spend extra money that I don't have to. Man, I've been getting in so much trouble here recently. I've gotten into baseball and football cards that, like, I'm sitting up all night watching these people break cards and stuff, and like, it's addicting. Like, I'm not the biggest money saver, but for instance, like you were saying, the refurbished thing. I buy all my lenses. I either buy open box or refurbished, or like used, for the fact that, like, I mean, put photos, if there's a little nick or scratch on the screen, you can see it. With video, you can't see it at all. So it doesn't worry me. I buy everything open box or, refurbished, or the display one. I never buy them brand new.
No, I think that's good information to know, especially like for other DJs that might be looking like to get cameras, or that kind of could segue into our next topic. How do you feel? Okay, let's say you showed up to a wedding.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty high-end wedding, and the DJ that is playing the wedding brought their own videographer too. How does that make you feel?
I wouldn't care, man. As long as like he's not doing any, like going to produce anything of like about like with the bride or anything like that. If he just wants to get the party, like, I wouldn't care. Now, I know there's some people out there that, like I said, there's business in this. I was on a podcast last week, and there's business. There's so much business out there to have, right? So one of the questions I was asked to me, like, do you mind helping other videographers? I'm like, no. For the fact is, you got to think how many thousands of people are just below, like from Columbus down to Cincinnati, right? And that even goes from Lexington up to, it's within like an hour and a half drive from downtown, right?
Yeah.
There's so many weddings, parties, everything going on every week, to like, why would I care? Like, if somebody, I need to help somebody, or somebody has a question, right? So like stuff like that wouldn't bother me, unless it's like crazy promoting like the wedding. Like, if you just wanted to party, like, I wouldn't care.
Would it help to maybe email you ahead of time and get some kind of dialogue going, to where you say, hey, this is what we're trying to shoot? We're just telling our listeners something they could do to, make everybody happy.
My bad about the dogs. I don't know if you can hear them barking. They're fighting. And I think one needs to go outside. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I would do. But like I said, I guarantee there's videographers out there who are going to try to bite that in the butt real quick, because there's people out there that think that their stuff's better than, God's creation. What I would ask, I'd make a deal like, yo, I don't care if you come do that, but if you have some good footage, I'd like to have it to use in the video, right?
Now,
like, I would do that, and I would tag them.
I had a videographer I worked with recently, and they told me the same thing, that we were super cool and open. I think my problem is I waited too long to get the footage. When's a good buffer to ask for them? Obviously, you don't ask for that week,
right?
You probably need like a month or 2 months. I think I waited like 6 months, and
So you're talking about getting footage from like a wedding videographer?
Yeah.
I would. So mine's kind of weird. So I do about 40 weddings a year. So I'm so far back. So like, I might not open that video, that I shot that wedding while you were there for 3 months. Right. So It's kind of one of those weird things. I would stay in contact. Hey, whenever you get that, do you care if I have a couple clips? Now, me personally, am I going to want to edit them for you? No, there's nothing against you, but at the same time, these people pay all this money, they're waiting. But I would shoot them over to you and be like, hey, here's 25, 30 clips. I use what is it, Google, or the Google Drive or whatever, and I would just Google Drive them over to you. I give photographers clips all the time. I'll shoot stuff behind their head, like as they're shooting, and I'll send it to them just so they have it. Without them even asking, type thing. Like, hey, I shot you a clip of you shooting a video. You can, if you know how to edit it, you can slow it down like 60 frames, and you kind of can edit to your social media.
Yeah, I even just for like either of us would be stoked to just get any raw footage. Like,
right,
yeah. And the thing is, like, I know enough about like quick editing, I feel, to like make it good enough for what I want. I need 15 seconds to put on Instagram to be like, hey, here's this event I did. Look how cool it was.
Right. And a lot of those things, honestly, you can like almost edit them on your phone now, which is crazy.
Right.
Like, you know, like if I had more time, like I'd be more into that, like just making small little edits. Now, like I'm all about let me get my bride's teaser done. Let me move on to the wedding I was working on. And then when it's her time, let me knock her video out. Right. I wish I had time to like sit there and, you know, mess with all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, for the 30-second edits, I think anybody can do it, you know, with a little bit. All you have to do is Google it a couple times on YouTube or whatnot, and you can figure out how to edit those little clips.
So that kind of, speaking of phone, are you on iPhone, or are you team Android, or are you using a?
I'm an iPhone. I shot a wedding in Arizona on an iPhone, like a bunch of it, to be honest with you. We went hiking, and I was like, man, I'm not carrying all this equipment up there. So a lot of the footage I shot on an iPhone. I bought me a Polar Pro. They have like these what do you call them, filters, you know, for sun, to make sure it doesn't look too digitalized, because everybody always talks about, like in the film industry, like you want that movement where it doesn't look digital. See how my hands, like you can see it's not like digital looking. And if you don't need filters, but if you don't use filters and say it's really bright out, your shutter speed has to be like crazy, and that's what causes the digital look. So I went and bought filters for it. I wish I would have used it more.
Is there a filter or a company that you recommend that DJs can look into? And is this like a clip that goes on?
You wouldn't need it unless you're like outside in the middle of the day. But it came with like a holder and everything. So I literally was filming the wedding. I put it on a tripod at once. It was my wide angle we were in Arizona on top of a mountain. Like I put it as a wide angle for my main angle for my for the quote unquote ceremony. But I use Polar Pro for most of my stuff. The reason I used them, I came back from that wedding. One of the filters kept falling off. I sent them an email. Literally, they asked no questions and sent me a whole new pack of them. And I'm talking about like $200, right? They didn't even ask questions. Like I had an issue, and they were like, "Okay, here you go." But yeah, I mean, I don't think you guys would need it, but like honestly, like I would test out my powers with iPhones against a lot of people with a camera. I feel like I could film. Like that's what I'm saying. It's not really these cameras, man. It's like who's behind it, like what's your imagination, like going into a wedding or whatever you're filming, right? And I honestly sit there and say to myself, like, I feel like I could film some weddings on an iPhone better than somebody could do with the cinema camera, like some of the work I've seen out there. And that's not me bragging, but it's all about a storytelling. It's always about telling the story. So as long as you're getting the content, that's all that matters, because the iPhones are crazy clear.
Now, you have the 13, or do you have the 12?
What are they on right now?
13.
Was it 13?
The one that just.
I have the 12. I think I have the 12 or 11. Like I said, I tried. That's like that's a personal thing that I have to buy. So like I try not to spend the extra. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep all that stuff kind of cheap, because like the last thing I want something. I'm in front of a computer editing stuff with stuff all day. Like the last thing I'll care about is like my phone, right? And that's not banging on anybody that loves to do phones, but like it was just one of those things, like it's a phone.
Well, that 12 still is insane. It still shoots amazing pictures.
But
yeah, it's that new 4K.
that new cinematic feature on the 13 is pretty insane.
But I saw that, to me it almost looks fake. You talking about like when you tap on them in the black background blurs?
Yeah.
It looks too digital. I would never use it just because to me it looks way digitalized. Like I can see it and I'd be like, that's on the iPhone.
That's kind of like
that new feature.
How I feel like when I go to the movie theater and watch a movie sometimes these days. I'm like, it is so clear and so real. It almost loses like the movie like feel sometimes when I it's like I personally loved the Irishman on Netflix, because I was like, oh my God, it felt like a movie, you know? And like sometimes I watch these movies and I'm like, it's like too good looking. So I think I think I understand what you mean. Like sometimes like
I couldn't even get through that movie. It was like what, 5 hours. It was
with
crazy,
the Irishman.
Right?
Yeah, Jim watched it and I was like, man, I can't sit here that long.
I loved it.
I know what it's about though.
I'm a Scorsese fanboy though. Like pretty much anything he puts out, I'm like, I love it. So
There's a new movie coming out with all them guys in it too about what's the big designer over across the pond? I don't know. I will have to look at it. I can text you later.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it either. I've heard.
It looks sick. It has all them guys in it.
Is he doing it? Is Scorsese doing it?
I don't know. It just kind of looks like something that he would do type thing. But anyways,
Halston, is that House of Gucci?
Yes,
House of Gucci. Let's see if I can.
Because there's like people getting murdered and stuff like in that family, I believe, or whatnot.
Oh, it's Adam Driver. It's Lady Gaga. It's
nice.
a Ridley Scott movie.
Well, I actually had a question. Something that had come up in one of our questions was we're talking about iPhones and we're talking about that kind of stuff. And something you brought up, or at least hinted on, was your storytelling with what you're shooting. Some of our guys, again, aren't videographers. Just as what's a couple like key clips that they could kind of tell a story really quickly. You know, I don't.
Like,
do you understand what I mean?
Like for like,
for DJs, what's something they could do where it's like a couple quick clips they can edit just for a good story or for a quick post to really explain that.
Right.
Explain what they did or explain where they were at the wedding.
I mean, something like if I was doing with you guys, like if you had somebody filming you all day, like I would literally have them filming you coming in, setting up, all that stuff. And then the lights go on, right? It's showtime. And then some clips there. And then like basically just kind of the end of the night vibes. I always like telling story from beginning to end. I don't know. I shot a wedding. Actually, it was a DJ. Let me get to my Instagram real quick and I'll tell you which one to look at. He's a DJ. He took over the DJ booth. The DJ is like, yeah, you can have a couple minutes, right? And I literally played the video around him DJing. Let me find it. It's Andrew and Krista and Andrew preview on my Instagram. But literally, I show him hitting the button to kick it off. It's about 3 or 4 rows down, or 5 rows down, probably. It's on the right side. Let's see. Top row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row down on the far right. And like basically their whole little teaser thing right there was a part, like their party. I really didn't put anything. It rained all day on that one. Let me make sure I'm on the right one because sorry, I told you probably the wrong one because I was on my personal page there. Have you found it?
Nah.
No.
All right. So if you're on my Harmon Films page,
I see. It's in the middle, I think.
It's in the middle.
No.
Yep. It's right next to the one with the guy carrying the girl. It's just the bride looking straight at the camera, kind of.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. And this is basically, I mean, it's like basically a DJ film, in my opinion.
So beginning to end, just getting some good clips. Is there like a stand you could recommend to the DJs or something that, you know, if we're just using iPhones?
Right. I mean, any of those like little what they call them, like the Gorilla Pod things that wrap. That's what I would use if I was a DJ, where you can wrap them around things anywhere type thing. Just because you want something up high, right?
Yeah,
I would assume. Anything that has some kind of wrap on it. I mean, tripods. Yeah, I would just buy a bunch of them little Gorilla Pods that wrap around things. I have some of them where I used to use with my GoPro. I would tie them to all kinds of things and just get weird shots. I actually used to tie them onto a couple. When I first started, I tied a couple GoPros onto like the DJ, right underneath the DJ's speaker, wrapped it around, and had just a GoPro on there just to catch stuff that, you know, when I wasn't filming, it was capturing everything, right? Yeah, but DJ wise, man, honestly, I wouldn't say go buy like a crazy awesome camera, but I'd get you at least like a decent one. Like the A7 III would be perfect for a DJ. You probably can get one for $1,300-$1,400 now, and it's good and low light. And you can just having that one camera on you, maybe the whole time. If you just put it right there facing you, I think it would look epic. And it has the low light feature on there to where it wouldn't matter how dark it is. Like I said, everybody on my business is like, man, you gotta invest in better lights. Like, no, I don't. I got Sony's. Like I have cheap lights. Like it's that type of thing. Like I spend a little extra on my camera so I can do, have cheaper things like that. I don't have to spend the extra money on these, some of these lights are crazy, like $2-3 a pop, but they do shoot from one corner to the other corner to the middle of the floor, which is awesome because they're way out of the way. But I have these little ones that I'll just move if I need to move them type thing. Like your A6300 shouldn't even be that bad when it comes to low light. The only thing that it's not the full frame, so you're going to lose a little bit. But I mean, I used to have one of those and used it all the time. It's like my B cam, B and C cam. I had a 6300, and I have a 6600 if you want to buy it. That's
I need to sit and play around with this. Ever since I've got the Insta360, I haven't really messed with this at all. Only because like it's so easy to just pull this thing out of my bag, open the stand, and be like, boom, and just flop it down. And
I think things are cool.
Yeah,
I just can't see what I personally would use it for. So like,
I
thought about buying the GoPro Max a couple times. I thought about buying the new DJI just came out with a new little action camera. Like it's like literally a square. I thought about buying that, but it's like, man, do I really need it type thing?
Yeah.
I know one thing you guys brought up earlier is I read on one of the questions, then I don't know if I answered it completely. It said something about like, should the DJ email the videographer? You know what? If you do, that's awesome. But like literally, I try to reach out to every DJ before a wedding just to introduce myself. And that way they know, because I feel like it's not your guys' problem for what I personally need. It's the videographer's problem to make sure they ask the DJ if they have something available, right? It's not your guys' problem that you guys need to make sure that we're okay. Because we're all there, especially in the wedding business, we're all there to do one job. It's to make the bride happy, right? So there's no reason to get mad at DJs. There's no reason to take advantage. Like I said, go plug into a DJ system right away. I think it's more of the videographer's job. Like, hey, reach out to the DJ, reach out to your photographer, just so you're all on the same page. I always say, hey, can I, hey, I'm Adam Harmon. I'll be shooting the wedding. I'll be filming the wedding that you're DJing on Saturday or Friday, whatever day it is. I just want to introduce myself. I would like to, if possible, plug into the back of one of your speakers for toast and introductions and all that good stuff. If not, that's okay. I look forward to meeting you on Saturday type thing.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, the DJ's like, yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah, it's like the wedding you did. Where I met him at. It was a wedding that I was doing for a friend, and I kind of didn't have too much information. They're great, but sometimes you get these couples and they're like, oh no, it's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. And that kind of makes it harder because you don't really know, much about. And so I get there and they're like, oh, the ceremony's outside and it's like 100 feet from the door. And they're like, but initially they only told me one setup. You're only going to set up inside. So it was like during the ceremony, the mic kept cutting out like a little bit. And then the officiant just moved the mic, which was cool. And then I felt so bad because I'm like, oh my God, he's piped into my sound. He's not going to get it. Oh my God.
I had him mic'd up. So I had him mic'd up on the other side. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, and it was 100 degrees outside too. Like, the inside.
I think it is good what you're saying, that it isn't our fault, but our problem really. But I still find that we should at least be emailing each other, right? If I don't hear from you, expect that you're going to need this, because more often than not, I'm not getting that email prior. And I think it is good to have an open dialogue where, this is a $20,000 to $50,000 day and we're all getting thrown to the wolves real quick. We should at least communicate with each other on what would make everybody's job a little bit better.
And I tell everybody, like, I mean, I need the DJ more than the photographer, more than the planner, so there's no reason for for any problems to be had. So if you're not reaching out to a DJ, like, why aren't you reaching out? That's why I would tell videographers, right? Because like I said, all my stuff's telling stories, and what comes with stories is dialogue, and I need all the dialogue for instance, our wedding we shot together, I completely lost the DJ, the DJ booth audio. Luckily, I had backup. I was plugged in, but that could have easily been the opposite, right? I've had it before to where like I had one of my DR10s. There was a drunk groomsman. He was messing with it after I put it on him and press record and all that stuff. He was messing with it, turned it off. Thank God I had a DJ booth behind me that was recording, so it saved a bunch of stuff that I could have lost, right?
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, like, because, and then on top of that, same thing with DJ. And as we were speaking, like before I got on here, is the fact that, like, man, I need that party, and there's a difference between DJs, and I've never realized it until I got into this business. It's just like I can film a wedding and feel like I can tell a story without audio as long as I have a party at the end of it, a full dance floor. Let me just turn this thing into a party film. For instance, like that one I just showed you, that was a party film. There wasn't much audio into it, not that many great story wise, but like it was a party. He took over the dance floor, or took over the DJ booth. But at the same time, like if I don't have both, like I'm sweating. Like, how am I going to make something out of this video with no dancing, no good dialogue, no nothing, right? I've had one.
So what's something a DJ and you could work on, maybe to get the dance floor popping right out the gate? What's something that you've seen at one of your weddings that's worked, that's get the dance floor popping, get people to have their hands up? Within 3 songs, I'm trying to set something up for you guys, right, so you can at least capture something.
I mean, I know photographers hate it. It's one of those things that I wouldn't say hate it, but I mean, it's kind of a pain, is the whole like, hey, let's take a group picture.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you take that last group picture, and I've had it before too, the DJ like hyped up the video, like on 3, like I want everybody to scream at the video. We took like 6, right? And as soon as I rolled through with the video, like he hit a banger and like the dance floor just kind of went off. But man, it's honestly, it's nothing like we can do together. Like it honestly depends on the DJ. Like I honestly have, like, I can tell the biggest difference in DJs now. And I never used to paid attention to it. But like, as soon as I get there, I can tell. For instance, like I was at a wedding up in Cleveland earlier in the summer, and this bride and groom, he was a firefighter, and like a couple of his firefighter, it's like they DJ'd on the side, right? So they had them do her wedding. And I sat there for like 30 minutes into the reception, quote unquote, open dance floor at time, and nothing was going on. And I finally went up to the DJ. I'm like, look, bro, I said, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but I walked into the bridal suite at 10 o'clock this morning, and there was girls twerking on the couches, dancing around, but it wasn't to this type of music, man. You got to switch it up. Like, throw some like nasty Cardi B stuff on there or something. Like, no offense to her, but play something raunchy, like get these girls rolling. And literally ignored me. And all of a sudden, here comes the bridesmaid. Like, hey, can you play this? And as soon as like, some of them TikTok songs that, quote unquote songs that are popular on TikTok, the dance floor was packed, So I feel like just the DJ just needs to feel out the crowd, like younger crowd, you got to change up. Like the whole line dance thing's kind of in the past. Like I shot a wedding this weekend, and I won't give out their names, but he killed it. But like, literally, I went up to him at the end of the night when I was leaving. And I was like, man, this is the first wedding I have ever been to where the DJ opened the dance floor. He never said another word and packed that thing the whole time. I was like, that. And it's not that if you do say stuff, but like I was like, man, he hasn't said a word. And like the dance floor was just packed the whole time. Of course, younger crowd there, but he didn't play any, like, I don't remember any of like the traditional quote unquote like group line dances or anything like that. Maybe towards the end of the night after I left, but I don't remember him. But yeah, I was able.
No one wants to see those line dances on your videos.
Well, here's the thing: when there's nobody dancing, sometimes that's what you got to put on. And then here comes, your grandma and the moms and all that stuff up there doing. I always put for the bride and groom. If the bride and groom's on the dance floor, it's going to be packed.
Oh yeah, that's
what. If they leave off the dance floor, it's going to empty out, and that's just the bottom line at any wedding you do. So like, I always will tell the bride and groom, if they're not on the dance floor and I need dance footage, I'll go grab them and be like, hey, give me 3 songs out there, because while you're not out there, like nobody else is going to be out there because they're going to want to mingle with you too. So,
100%. 100. That's one of the things I always try to say before I do weddings anymore is like, hey, you know, if like you really want it to be a party, you guys got to be out there kind of starting the party. And kind of once I feel like if I can get it going, I can keep it going for the most part. But like sometimes especially if they're not wanting that like group photo or like the kind of the dance floor hack at the beginning of opening the dance floor to help that, having the bride and
remember
groom.
that wedding that we shot? I was like, man, they ain't gonna dance at all. And then like I packed up all my stuff and I turn around and it is packed on the dance floor. I was like, man, so I sit my stuff down. I sit my stuff down and go back out, and I'm like, well, I'll stay for another 10 minutes.
I was worried about that one too. I was like, man, well, the one that with that one,
a weird setup too.
Yes, they had me, Drew. They had me like maybe like 30 or 40 feet kind of off the dance floor. And I even went down there. I sent you pictures, and I went down there and I was like, hey, like I'll set up here if you guys really, really want, but it would be better to be like kind of in a more direct spot on the dance floor. And, it just that kind of stuff too, with like, when you're doing weddings and when you're helping a wedding, that was like a friend, like, hey, like, I'm going to help you guys out with this. But, getting people to understand, like sometimes too, like you shoot videos, you shoot wedding party videos. That's what you do. We play parties. Like we know the best situation to make the party happen. And it's like, you're just making it harder and harder.
It was so weird because you were so far off the back to where like you have your little lights. I have my lights, but they're like all the way on that side. You know what I mean? Like, and then we had this like dark space in between like the dance floor and where you were at. And I was like, and it was just it was a weird vibe. But then, like I said, like I turn around, there's a circle of people, and they got the circle dance. Like people are out there breaking it down. Like, I guess I'm gonna go get my camera.
That was a tough one.
I'm a little curious. You've seen some good and some bad DJs. What? I don't know. Maybe you give us some. You gave us a bad one with the firefighters. Yeah. What's something that you've seen really work other than group photo and just being good? Just the transitions are good, or they include the people at the gate. What's something?
I mean, one guy I worked with a couple times, like John. I mean, he talks the whole time. Like he's a hype man. He's good at that. That works for some people. Some people doesn't work for it. And I feel like, for instance, like I know like when I meet the DJ, like how the night's going to go right away. I can feel the vibe just because I've done so many of these. Like if the DJ shakes my hand, kind of walks off, like I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be that kind. But if the DJ says, yeah, man, no problem. Like, can I help you here? Can I help you there? Like I already know like this guy's been there, done that. He's here to make the day go good. But like anything specific, like I wouldn't know. Like I don't know. Like it's almost like I would ask more like deep questions to brides and grooms. Like, hey, what are we looking at? Because I asked them like, hey, is this going to be a party at the reception, or is this going to be more of a chill, relax type thing? And most time, like when people say it's not going to be a party, like I kind of I don't want to say brush them under the table, but like that's not really what I do. I want to be in there where it's like the biggest party of their life type thing, because that's what all my films you can see. Like there's always a big party scene either at the beginning or at the end. Like, why are you reaching out to me if it's not going to, if it's not something that you've seen me do? But yeah, so I just legit asked the question, because we can sit here and play as a DJ. I can sit there and play what you call it tabletop music and let people sit there and dine all night. If you want to pay me the same, right? But I want to know that's what you want beforehand. And I've also been to weddings, like that wedding I shot this past weekend, like during cocktail hour, there's F-bombs and all the songs and stuff. And that's just what they wanted. Like it was a party. Like, it was just those type of people. And like, I just knew from the get-go, like, I mean, the bride danced down the aisle to, that Home song by,
Edward Sharp and the
Yeah.
Magnetic Zeros.
Yeah. It's sorry, the groom came down to that, and then the bride came down to Florence and the Machine. Bad Days Are Gone or whatever. Like it was like a part, and like I knew like she hired a photographer and videographer before she even had an event split space. She's like, okay, you guys are ready for October 30th. Like, I'm going to go find somewhere to have this wedding now. So I knew like she was like, this was just going to be over the top fun. Like they carried tambourines. They carried tambourines instead of flowers down the aisle. So they're all like hitting the things. Like it was very, I called it hobo, but to her, it's like a hobo wedding instead of like a boho. I guess they call it like where there's like carpet and stuff, but I called it a hobo wedding. I had him dying. I was being dead serious. Like I couldn't think of the word and I called it hobo.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, man, I couldn't tell you the exact thing that you would have to do. But I mean, I would just feel the couples out up front. Like, hey, do I really want to sign myself up for this? Which yours is a little bit different. Like if they, they're going to pay you the same, right? And you're going to go play this certain type of music and not worry about it at a party. Like sign me up, right? I don't have to have this monster party. But like me, like, I'm designed just straight because I have to edit everything afterwards. Like, how am I going to make a story out of this if they're not going to do anything, right?
I agree and disagree.
Yeah. I feel like it's like a waste of talent sometimes to have like. Right. Why are you going to have me there when you could just have some guy with his whatever, And same for Drew. Drew is doing super. I mean, Drew is a travel wedding DJ at this point. He's traveling everywhere. People are flying him in to DJ their weddings.
Yeah, I think if we're all busy, you definitely want to try and pick your client. It's like what you're saying. It's exactly what you're saying. Your branding's on point to sell as a party DJ, right? If you can't really get that, or that's not, if it just doesn't fit, then maybe it is time to start turning down some things.
Right. I shot a wedding this summer and I thought it was going to be like this. And I completely misread it. Like I thought it was going to be like this sick wedding. And like literally I get there and they literally plug a phone into a speaker and play music at the end. Ooh. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. The good thing was I got to go home early. So, I mean, it was what it was on that point. But like sometimes it's hard, Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
People lie to you, like to get what they want. They will lie to you. Not a lot, but like I said, I've had my few that I'm just like, man, what is going on here? Like, what did I set myself up for?
Sometimes people are kind of just clueless. Like we've talked about in another episode, a recent wedding I did where they were like very specific to me. They were like, we want this kind of music. And like, they sent me a Spotify playlist and it was like 150 songs. And it's like, okay, that's great. But it was like, first off, the other thing they told me was they wanted no music newer than 2005. And it's like, okay, well, you're cutting out 16 years of music right there. So like, people just don't know sometimes. They think, I mean, Drew, how often do you hear hey, I don't really want new music, but then they're like, well, I'm like, do you like this song? Well, yeah, I like that song. Well, do you like this song? Well, yeah, I like that song.
People don't know. It's you just have to be able to ask questions. I think knowing how to ask way too many questions is gonna be able to, at least you can narrow down what they really mean by that.
Right. And it's almost like the same thing. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like the same thing in mine. Like, hey, let me do my thing. I've had brides like tell me like, oh, I want this kind of music. Like, hey, like if your wedding's like this music doesn't go with this, right? Like, let me be me. I will make sure that you cry when you watch your wedding video. Like, you will sit here. Same thing on your end. Like, hey, are you guys wanting to have a party, right? Yes. Okay. Let me be me, and let me kill it. And I think that'd be one thing that'd be awesome for you guys to have, especially with the media footage, right? You're selling yourself without any kind of party atmosphere. Like I get to show my work, right? Where it's hard for you guys to show your work. So the videos would mean a lot, right? To have a couple videos of a party. Hey, let me send you this video real quick. Do you want a party like this? You have all that stuff and to show them.
And it's important. And it's hard for somebody like Drew, like he's flying, like he was just in Cincinnati, last weekend. He flew in, he did a wedding on a Friday night at where he's from out in Long Beach. And then he had a helper with him that helped close down the wedding. He immediately went to the airport, flew in to Columbus, did his wedding, went to the office, picked up the gear for who he was working for in Columbus, then went and set up at the wedding, and then boom, next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock and the ceremony's starting, and
it was a whirlwind. I'm trying not to book things that close. It was amazing. It worked out perfect, and it really just does come down to being prepared, asking way too many questions, prepping things out early.
But that's what
you're doing.
That's what I was going to get. It's hard for him to then, okay, I already got to do this, and this. And now I need to get good footage on top of it.
Right.
So it's like, it's just another thing. And this wedding that he did was pretty epic. It was for a very, very high-end client. And it looked like it was like inside of like a giant circus tent type deal. And I mean, that like footage of that would be amazing to get, to show like, hey, look at this party I just did, you know.
I would, yeah. I mean, like I said, like email your to the videographer who did it. I mean, even photography, like some photographers don't do it, but like for instance, my friend, I worked with her this weekend, Jessica Wiggins, her and her team take some epic photography photos at during the dancing, like where they take a picture and they shake their camera, so you get like these laser lights, and then like it reminds me of like photos from like The Hangover, right? You see like everybody's face like in a whirlwind, there's like lights going around, like even stuff like to have like that to be able to post on your page, or send to couples.
I think for me at this point, we're getting more and more people that are sharing all this stuff, and especially the planners are really coordinating it between everybody. I was just wanting to say for our listeners what they could do if they're not quite at that level, how they could reach out, or what's a good way to just be cool at the wedding, right? So if you're cool all day at the wedding, then you have no problem sharing it if you're also cool, right?
That's how I've always played the game, man. Like we're all here to do one job. Like, let's be cool together, and like at the end of the day, like if you need something, I'm there for you. And put it this way, at a wedding, hey, the DJ's getting, let me plug into his system. So when those toasts are done, I go grab the mic for the DJ and I'll walk it straight over to the DJ. Like, here you go. I do everything I possibly can to work with the DJ. I don't know if we did it at our wedding, but did we use a mic stand?
Yeah, I had to use a mic stand. I
always tell like, hey, look, can I use your mic? Like if your DJ has a mic stand, I always say, hey, can I use a mic stand? But the fact is, like, I can control everything, especially with like feedback from the speakers and stuff like that. We can put this in a certain spot where these people aren't going to walk with the microphone. I don't have to worry about following them with my camera. And as soon as that's done, I grab the mic stand, I grab the mic, and I'll walk it straight back to the DJ booth and sit it down because, hey, you did this for me. Like, I'm going to help you grab stuff.
The other thing, a lot of people don't like doing it. I don't mind the mic stand either, because a lot of times what happens at the weddings is when they're speaking, the microphone starts out up here and you can hear them. And then they start dropping it. And then I'm like turning the mic up more. And then the next person grabs it or something and it's super loud. So
I had a DJ tell me one time a mic stand, and I'm trying to think I think it was in Cleveland. I'm not sure. But I had a DJ one time tell me a mic stand makes a wedding not look classy. And I'm like, look, man, if anything, it makes it look more classy with a mic stand up there and somebody standing, not moving around and just addressing the crowd, right? I mean, anytime you see somebody professionally speak, they're always speaking at a mic stand, right? It's just what it's known for. Like it's known for, like it looks so much better on film when there's a mic stand there and these people can't walk around, and you're going to get good audio, because that mic's sitting there, their mouth's right here. So if they're not talking loud or too far away, we can be like, hey, step up to the mic stand, step up closer type thing, instead of them holding the mic down here and like their voice is going this way. So
where's one of the best places you like to set that for toasts, a mic stand?
I always ask the DJ, like, hey, where can we go with this thing where it's not going to have any kind of reverb, or where you guys, I don't know the technology name for it, but for
feedback.
Instance, at the same time, if there's feedback, it messes with my, like, I put them wireless mics on, you can hear the feedback in that. So like, I want it to sound good. So I'm not a professional in that. So I always ask DJ, like, hey, where can we go with this, this thing to make sure that we're not going to have any feedback on it, during. And then from there, I'm like, okay, let's figure out a place to put this mic stand. Or typically, if there's not a mic stand, I'll tell the groomsman or whoever's doing the toast, like, hey, you're going to stand right there, but you're not going to move. Like, you're going to stand right behind that seat. So if he's standing right behind the seat, right next to the groom, typically they won't start walking. It's when you put them out in the middle of the dance floor, it's like, okay, they turn into Chris Rock as soon as they get that microphone.
So you would like it next to the bride and groom, right?
I mean, that's how I do it if there's no mic stand. But like, hey, if there's a mic stand and I can put them like out on the dance floor facing the bride and groom, I'll do that 100% of the time, because that way I can set a camera up pretty far back, hitting the person giving the toast, and I can set a camera right behind that pointing back at the bride and groom, so I can knock out both them shots without moving, type thing, if that makes any sense. So
yeah, I like that.
But like I said, if there's no mic stand, I want them to stand right there, just so, hey, they have nowhere to walk to. It's just how I think about it. Because
that like multiple shots gives you kind of like a more interesting thing you can do during the speech. So it's not just like one continuous shot. So that is cool too.
I don't use them all the time in my video, but like I have a package where I'll make the bride and groom like toast edits. So it's all the toasts that happen throughout the day. And then that's when I kind of use that. So like if the dad's telling a story and the bride starts crying, I always will like switch to the bride to show tears coming down. But yeah.
All right, we're getting pretty close to time here, so we got one more question we want to discuss with you, and it's something that DJs on the internet and always talk about this, and Drew can attest, somebody who does tons and tons of weddings, is photographers and videographers with gear. They tend to come into the wedding or the reception, and then they just drop the gear right in front of the DJ booth, and they're like, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. And you didn't do that, but let's say if we do 10 weddings, 8 of the 10, that's exactly what happens. And you're like, okay, look, I just brought in
right in front of your booth.
Oh, happens all the time. Wouldn't you say, Drew?
Well, I would say like possibly not right in front of the booth, but maybe right in front of, on top of the speakers, or right next to the speakers, or to where it looks now like my stuff. Like I didn't clean up.
Right.
I spent all this time taping all the cables and moving things around. And now, look, I totally get it. You have to keep your stuff where it's safe. This stuff is so expensive, and you want to keep it where someone's going to be. But we're just, have an open dialogue of like how we could help you out, or what's a way that we could, make it look cleaner.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But once again, like I revert back to that's not really your problem. That's more our problem, right? Like you don't need to do anything. That should just be better on the photographer, videographer. Like, so typically, like depending on the situation, of course, because every situation is different. Typically I'm there before the DJ, right? So I typically find a corner, like if we're at everything's at the same venue, and I'll just park my stuff there until I figure out what's going on. But any other time DJ's in there, like I go in and ask questions like, hey man, like is there room over here anywhere to put my stuff? Or like, have they told you anything? If not, like I'll find, like this past weekend, I found the wedding planner, like, yo, where can we put our stuff at? And but at the same time, I'm not the cheapest videographer out there. So like I've been to a bunch of these, like, and I don't know how much these people are. Usually videographers are like the last thing people book, right? It's starting to switch a little bit different, but a lot of people are spending that, maybe $1,500, I got this cheap videographer. So they're just going and dropping their stuff off. And like, I think it more through, and like, there's a reason. I always tell people, like, there's a reason I'm a little more expensive than most your videographers out there, for the fact that like, I'm going to make sure your day goes perfect. So I'm not going to put my stuff in front of the DJ booth or near the DJ to make it look like a mess. Yeah, it's a small, tiny thing that a bride and groom probably wouldn't even see, right? But it's just the fact that I can see it, that I wouldn't do something like that, But yeah, I mean, it's just communication, not on your guys' fault. And if I was you, I'd be like, yo, man, like you're making my space look, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you're making my space look bad. So I remember the wedding we shot, like I had my stuff all the way on the other side of the room, but then all the toasts were gone, and I was pulling my cameras behind the DJ booth, which is then in between the the photo booth, which I don't even know how we got there. Like, it was the weirdest thing. But like, I saw my cameras lined up back there, and I was slowly like putting them away throughout the night because I was just like, that room was just too big.
Yeah.
Right? What was going on?
And they had a lot of people even in a big room and a lot of tables. And what was funny, that wedding is like, I'm like set up and like the ceremony is about to start and the photo booth guy comes like rolling in right by that side door. And he's like, hey man, you might want to watch your stuff. I'm bringing in a photo booth. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just move everything that's already set up. Like, I don't like, it was so like,
he was a big old boy too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was eyeballing my cameras at one point. You remember
Yeah,
that?
well,
Yes. He you like that Sony.
Yeah.
I was like, you better watch them paws, son.
he wanted to be like super chatty, and he was like set up like right behind me. And then when you and I were talking, he was like trying to be super chatty. But then once you left, he was like chatting me the rest of the night. And I was like, bro, I'm trying to like get this party that's like only kind of going. I'm trying to keep it going. And like, he's wanting to talk to me about his photo booth and how he prints out the pictures and gives them to the guest at the end of the night. I'm like, tight, bro. Like, that is cool.
Hey, I'm telling you, I know it's not that much. I mean, I know you guys already do so much, but if I was a DJ, I definitely would have a photo booth attached to my thing. Just for the fact you can charge out the wazoo for it, and all you need is not like even just like an iPad with like a, you know, and I can personally do it, but like, I'm videoing so much. The last thing I want to worry is about a photo booth. You know,
we actually have a sponsor coming soon of that. It's,
we're gonna
coming up episodes, a couple episodes.
I want one. Is it one of them 360 ones?
It is not.
I want one of the ones you can dance on and it does the slow motion. Now I would buy one of those.
Yeah,
that is tight.
We do have that. Me and Fuse took a picture of that. We don't own it, but we took a picture at one of the expos. I did talk to a buddy that was using one, and he said that he's had many drunken problems with it where they'll step down too soon and just get hit in the face. And
I sat there and thought, man, I'm like, that's just the arm holding out your $5,000 camera, and these people are cameras, right? Like, it'd be one of those things. Like, I'd be like, okay, I'll let it run for the first hour of the wedding, right? And then I got to put this bad boy up because. But I think them things are so sick. Like, I mean,
they are. They come out amazing for sure. You definitely need an attendant though.
Oh yeah,
right,
completely. Right. The photo booth that we're going to be doing some sponsor stuff for is great though too, and we'll probably post something on our Instagram about it. But it's pretty much like what was the old infomercial guy? Set it and forget it. Yeah, I think you can pretty much do that with this one. But
awesome.
And you don't have to worry about the guy bringing it through the door and knocking over your.
You have to watch out, buddy. You're going to get some.
So.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah. But yeah, Adam, we appreciate you coming on the show today. It was great having you on. It was great talking with you. Once again, if you want to tell everybody where they can find you and find your work, and if we have any bride and grooms, we'll definitely throw them your way, or I will here in Cincinnati.
Right. I do travel. I don't love it, but the money's right. I'm out. I shot like 20 weddings or like 10 weddings up in Cleveland this year. It's just like, I was wore out, man. And I think most of it was from COVID, all these weddings backed up. But anyways, harmonfilms.com is my website, Harmon_films on Instagram, Harmon Films on Facebook. And then Adam at Harmon Films, my email if you want to reach out. Like I said, even any questions whatsoever. Like if you're thinking about getting into video work, reach out, man. There's plenty of work out there for all of us. I probably shot 30 weddings down this year, that I was just already booked. So with that being said, like the more people I know, the more people I can pass off. Or if you want to come, to a wedding, just see what it's about, feel free to give me a call or shoot me a message.
That's awesome. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool, man.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
We'll cross paths next year.
Yes, definitely.
All right, brother.
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye.
All right. That was Adam from Harmon Films. It was great talking with him. It was cool to hear his take on a lot of things, and
definitely.
All that. So
I heard we have a caller.
Oh, we do have a caller. I think we even have the theme music for this caller.
All right.
Ah, is that? I think that's the War and Peace. That's the War and
Theme
Peace
music?
song. Yeah, it's the War and Peace theme music. So, with that being said, we got a little call in from Warren here. We're gonna play that real quick.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Drew hit me up and said, "Yo, we need you to say like a story or something on the show." So I feel like like a black Mr. Furley. Like I just burst into the episode and go ah. So I'm wearing my overexposed kind of noisy camera. Anyway, so as my name, my name is War and Peace. I've done a lot of stuff in Vegas, and one of the things I remember in Vegas was it was Memorial Day weekend, and Afrojack was playing on a Friday, and I was opening for Afrojack, and then Deadmau5 was playing on a Saturday, and I think it was the first time or second or third time we've had Deadmau5 there, and Afrojack plays on the Friday, and it is packed. I mean, good Lord, if you've ever been in front of Excess, like it's packed, like, and they didn't have the lines there. Those were all stores. So it was like the whole hallway was packed. People, beautiful people. Oh my God. And they were going to break a record that night about how much money they made. And everyone was super hyped about how much money they were going to make. And like, they're going to break a record, and shit was going good. And then Steve Wynn came in. Steve Wynn comes in, and he's walking to the club, and he can't, from what I heard, because I was inside, from what I heard, he couldn't get to the club because there was just so many people. And he starts going, "What the fuck? Everyone get the fuck out! Get the fuck out of my hotel! Everyone, out, out, out!" And starts, like, everyone in the, because it was, like, completely blocking the hallway. Like, it was so packed. I think it was only our second Memorial Day or Labor Day or something. I don't know. Anyway, packed. Steve Wynn proceeds to kick everyone out. Everyone. If you're in the club, you can stay in the club. But if you're not in the club, boom. Club's closed. And this was like 11:30? Maybe 12? Nah, more like 11:30 when this happened. Man, everyone was mad. So the second part of the story, I don't know if you want to stop here or not, but the second part of that story, the second time I met O.J. Simpson, Deadmau5 was performing on Saturday, and I was opening for Deadmau5. And they had a sound check because Deadmau5 wanted to bring in an Allen Heath mixer. By the way, Allen Heath mixers sound incredible. Like, hands down. The sound quality of Allen Heath mixers is incredible. So he brings the Allen Heath mixer, and he's doing a sound check. Meanwhile, all the VPs of the hotel are in the back of Excess VIP, and they're having a big talk, like, how are we going to control this line? We can't have all these people hanging out, blah, 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 blah. Like, all the top people are there. All of them are in on a Saturday at like 3 o'clock discussing crowd control. And Joel begins to test his music. Full blast. Full blast. So he's blasting the music. And so it's pumping Deadmau5 shit. I don't know what it was, but it's just pumping. Everyone turns around and looks at me. I'm like, yo, tell him to turn it down. I'm like, me tell him to turn it down? Like, you, like, so I'm just kind of like dodging. Like, I'm not a one to tell, but I'm kind of like, shit, you know, I work here, etc. So I'm feeling guilty. Like, well, shit, I better. They're asking me. I guess I got to do it. So I go up to Joel. I'm like, yo, shit. He goes, what? What he said? What? I can't remember what he said now. He said, what? I need to test my fucking equipment. Blah, 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 blah. I can need to be as loud as I fucking can. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, yo, I'm not asking you to turn it down. They're asking you to turn it down. So stop yelling at me. Or I said, stop it. Or whatever. Or I said something like that. And he was like, all right, cool. I was like, yeah. So that was the one time. That's how I met Joel. After that was love. In fact, he wouldn't let me use his Allen Heath mixer. And then later in the night, he's like, yeah, you can use it. Like, I guess he had heard me, or I don't know. But he was just like, but after that, yo, we were cool. Like, not cool hang out, like cool just like a working with friend type cool. Like, I can't call him right now and ask him for like, $2 for cheese on a Whopper. But if I saw him in a hotel or something, yo, what up, Joel? And he'd be like, yo, Warren, blah, blah, blah. So that's it. That's my story. I love that story. It's a great story. It's the first time I met Joel. And we had a pretty cool relationship after that. So
All right. That was stories from the gramophone with Warren Peace right there. And Warren's so casual when he talks, and it is so amazing. He's got a great relationship with a lot of these guys he's opened for over the years when he's been at Dre's and when he was at XS. And speaking of opening sets, we're kind of going to segue into a future episode. Drew and I are going to do a whole episode coming up dedicated to talking about opening sets and different kinds of opening sets and what DJs kind of need to be prepared for. Let's say you're opening up for a bigger open format DJ, such as like Spider or Joe Maz or a Conflict, how you might play that set versus maybe you're opening up for a bigger producer DJ, such as, Deadmau5 or Afrojack or something like that. We will discuss all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're just playing in a club and you're new to club DJing and you need to know how to play an opening set just for yourself. Well, we can help discuss all those things. But we also want to know things that you guys might want to hear about with that topic, questions you might have. We can address all of those in that episode. So please let us know what questions you might have when it comes to DJing and opening sets. We can even sit here and pull some songs and recommend and suggest good songs for opening sets if that's what you guys might want to hear.
100%. I just did an opening set here this past weekend, so I was actually the middle slot. So I think just prepping that to where you have, you don't sound like you're only playing old stuff, but a good balance. We'll go over all those details.
Yeah, and stuff happens during opening sets. And to explain one, I can remember I was doing a lot of opening sets at one of the bars I used to play at here that was bringing DJs in, and I was opening for Four Color Zach at there one time, and which if you've never heard him live, he is amazing. And so he gets there and I'm like playing my opening set and like the manager is like introducing me to him and I'm like, oh hey, nice to meet you, and somebody else is up there and I'm like, oh hey, what's up, blah blah blah. Next thing I know, I turn around and there's like 30 seconds left on my song and I'm like scrambling and I accidentally even load and play like the wrong file, and it was like some heavy Milo and Otis like twerk drop at the time that was big, and he was like, bro, what are you doing? And I was like, oh man, I'm sorry, like I had like a really good opening set going and then I just got distracted and it was really embarrassing. So you don't want that to happen to you. So we're going to discuss things to help you prepare for that and all of that. And I think that's probably going to wrap up today's episode a little bit. We're going to have more stories from the gramophone with Warren, and anything you guys might want to hear with that, let us know too. Again, we appreciate everybody that's commenting and sharing and all of that. Again, feel free to hit the YOLO line, 562-246 YOLO. Leave us a voicemail, a rant, anything. Maybe you're frustrated about something that's going on in the DJ world. Maybe you have a topic that you want to talk to about us, or you want us to ask somebody. We'll do our best to make that happen. And if you're listening on YouTube, once again, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Please comment. All of that helps us greatly. There's a lot of work that goes into making the show. We know we're new still, but it is a lot of work to make this happen and get it up and keep it going. So we appreciate any shares. And if you're on iTunes, the rating and reviewing and subscribing and downloading, and same with Spotify, follow and download the episodes. All of that helps. Drew, is there anything you have to add?
No, that's it. It was an awesome episode. And like you said, just keep the messages coming. It really helps us know that you're listening, and it means a lot. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. We're out. We'll see you next time. Peace.